It's Affy, and today I am here to do some more recommendations. Today I will be doing class difference recommendations. This is one of my favorite tropes of all time, and so I figured I would put together a list of some books. I had a lot of fun with putting this list together, so not going to talk too much. I'm just going to hop on in. The first book I have here is by Joanna Shupe. This is part of the Uptown Girls series. This is The Prince of Broadway. In this book we have Florence and Clayton. Florence is the daughter of a businessman. Her dad is, he's rich. Her dad is really, really rich, and her family are very much upper society, high society in New York. And then we have Clay, who is a casino owner, and he has basically built himself up from the slums. So Clay is on a revenge mission against Florence's father. Can't remember the reason why. Florence comes to Clay and asks for him to mentor her. She wants to open a casino for women, and Clay, being an owner of a casino, she feels that he can teach her how to run the business. He does let her know that he is basically out for revenge against her father, and she's like, I don't really care because I'm just here to get what I want out of this situation. But I really ended up enjoying this one. The next book I have here is by Sophie Jordan. This is part of the Rogue Files series. This is The Duke Buys a Bride. In this book we have Marcus and Elise. And Marcus has run away from London. He decides he's going to go to some family property in Scotland. He comes across a bride auction, and there's a young woman who's being auctioned off to get married to whoever wins her. And he can tell that this woman is expecting somebody in particular to come and purchase her. And she's starting to look really frantic and terrified. And so he's like, fine, I'll buy her and, figure out what to do later. Marcus is a duke. Elise is a young woman who was married off by her father to an old man. And her father just married her off to this man so that, she would have somebody to take care of her. And it's been a marriage in name only. She was basically just there to raise his children, and he would give her a roof over her head. Now that his children are older, he doesn't really have need for her anymore, and she was hoping to marry a really good friend of hers, but this friend doesn't show up on the day of the auction. And so when Marcus bids for her and wins her, she's like, oh God, who is this random man that just won my hand in marriage? I don't know who this man is. And so she's a little freaked out by this situation. Marcus is basically thinking to himself, okay, I can't necessarily marry this woman. She could be my maid. He basically convinces her that when they make it to his castle that they're going to in Scotland, that she can be his maid. They will find a way to annul the marriage somehow. And that way she can just be his maid and he'd be free to marry someone else. Unfortunately, it is not that simple, and this ends up being a road trip romance, the two of them traveling to his country estate. And there are some really good times in this book. This one made me chuckle quite a few times. I really had fun with this book. My favorite part in this story, he, instead of buying her a horse to travel with, he buys her a mule. And she has to ride this mule all the way to the manor that they are going to. It This book was funny. I really enjoyed myself with this one. Next book I have is by Evangeline Collins. This is Her Ladyship's Companion. So in this book we have Lady Isabella and Gideon. Isabella is married and her husband leaves her alone for months at a time by herself. She pretty much is in a loveless, sexless marriage and she is beyond miserable. And so when a cousin of hers comes to town and suggests that she hire a lover, she at first is like, that's a stupid idea. I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I really don't want to make a fuss in my relationship. Like, am I miserable? Yes, but I don't want to do anything to like rock the boat. But then her cousin hires a man named Gideon to come and basically show her a good freaking time. At first, Isabella is just like, she's freaked out. She doesn't know what to do, but Gideon is so charming and she starts to finally give in, and it is their romance. She, like I said, she is married, so this is kind of a cheating story, sort of. This has a lot of spice in it. This book had me... There's a lot of sex scenes in this book, which I guess makes sense, but it was a lot. If you like that sort of thing, this will totally be up your street. For me, it was almost too much. It is a great book, nonetheless. Next book I have here is by Eva Leigh. This is part of the London Underground series. This is Dare to Love a Duke. In this book, we have Thomas and Lucia, and Thomas is the son of a duke. He has been going to a sex club every week called the Orchid Club, and the proprietress of this club, she goes by the name Amina, but her real name is Lucia, and because it's a sex club, everybody wears masks, and so he's never actually seen her face, but he was just taken with her the first time he went there. And so he goes every week just to talk to her and spend time with her. And then his father dies, and he realizes that if he's going to be part of Parliament, he cannot be seen going into a sex club on a regular basis. Like, it's not going to look good. And so he decides that he can no longer go to the Orchid Club. So for the last time that he goes in there, he basically tells her, like, look, it's the last time I'll be coming. Like, I can't see you anymore after today. Like, are you open to having a night together, like to spending a night together? And she agrees. And so they see each other's faces for the first time. And they have a lovely, lovely night together. And then they assume that they will not see each other ever again. A few days later, she goes to pay the owner of the club his part of the dues, and she finds Thomas. And it turns out that Thomas's father, the former Duke, was the owner of the Orchid Club. So now Thomas has found that he can't get away from this club because he happens to be the owner of the Orchid Club. Very, very interesting premise. I really, really love this book. I love Thomas as a character. He is so sweet and just a very charming man. As a couple, they have sizzling chemistry. These two are the type that, like, would I fuck each other from across the room? like they're that couple. This is a really good class difference, and I just love this book. And like I said, I love Thomas, so yeah, this is a great one. So the next book I have here is by Lorraine Heath. This is part of the Scoundrels of St. James series. This is Surrender to the Devil. And this one has a step back. In this book, we have Franny Darling and Sterling, who is a duke. And Franny grew up on the streets. She was an orphan. Franny tends to avoid the nobility. She was not treated very well by people of the upper class as a child, obviously, because she grew up on the streets. And so she's never really had like a positive mindset about the nobility. And then Sterling comes into her life, and Sterling is related to one of the characters from one of the previous books. I think his sister marries like one of her friends. So he's related to someone in her circle. So they meet at this wedding, and he is immediately taken with her. And he makes it pretty well known to her that he's interested in her, but for sexual reasons only. He's basically like, I want to tryst with you. I want to screw you. Like, I want to get down with you. So she basically has to decide if she wants to be his mistress. And it is their romance. I love Franny Darling. She is a sweetheart, and I just love everything about her. She's just the sweetest girl ever. This is another good class difference. The next book I have here is also by Lorraine Heath. This is part of the Once Upon a Dukedom series. This is The Duchess Hunt. This book is about Hugh, who is a duke, and his secretary, Penelope Pettypiece. And Penelope has been Hugh's secretary for, I believe, 8 years at this point. And in the previous book, she had been helping him look for a wife. He had basically put out a letter in the news, an advertisement in the news essentially, looking for a wife. Now he's trying again, and he's, basically got Penelope doing all the work to help him find a wife. And Penelope, poor Penelope, is madly in love with him and has been since she started working for him. So she's having to go through the process of finding a wife for the man that she is in love with. But it's really, really good. And Hugh he's very type A. So is she. They're both very type A. They just get each other. And so when they finally start to realize that there are feelings there, it all just kind of makes sense. Like, it just fits. Like, they just fit. They're just a good fit for one another. But obviously, her being his secretary, she is not of his class. He's a duke. He's supposed to marry, like, a lady to be his duchess. And so it definitely causes some uproar. The next book is by Loretta Chase. This is part of the Dressmaker series. This is Silk is for Seduction. In this book we have Marceline and Clevedon. Clevedon is a duke and Marceline is a dressmaker. And so she owns her own shop with her two sisters. And Marceline is, she thinks, the greatest dressmaker in all of the world. She's very confident. She's a very confident woman. She and her sisters have decided that a good way to get themselves more business would be to help dress the most frumpy girl in town. She is a beautiful girl, but she is dressed by her mother in all these dowdy, ugly gowns, and she is supposed to be getting married to Clevedon. Marceline decides that if she can convince Clevedon, who is supposed to be this girl's future husband, but they haven't actually gotten engaged yet. So that part's kind of weird. But she's like, maybe I can convince him to help me get this girl's business. And so she goes all the way to Paris to find him. The two of them meet, and he is taken with her, like, because she's just so beautiful that he's like falling all over himself to talk to her. And then she basically tells him like why she's there is to get his business, and he's just like, so you're talking to me because you want my money? And she's like, yeah, basically. So he's a little annoyed at first, but he's still so taken with her that he can't seem to keep himself away from her. They get back to London, and it is their romance. Marceline is one of my favorite heroines ever. I love her. She's such a great character. This one is a class difference because Marceline is a female business owner. Like, she owns her own business. She is working class, and Clevedon is a duke. So they're, again, not of the same class, and it does cause a lot of tongues to wag in town. The next book is by Harper St. George. This is part of the Gilded Age Heiresses series. This is The Duchess Takes a Husband. In this book, we have Camille and Jacob, and Camille is a duchess. Her husband has recently passed, and she wasn't physically abused in her marriage, but she wasn't treated well, and in some ways she was kind of emotionally abused. And so she just she hasn't had good experiences with relationships, both, emotionally, sexually. And so she is, now that her husband has passed away, she wants to experience those things. She wants to experience a positive sexual relationship with a man. So Jacob is the owner of a club, and she basically propositions him to be her lover. And at first he's like, no, I don't get down like that with my customers. Like, that's not a thing that I do. But he's definitely very interested in her. So he kind of feels bad that he has to turn her down. He is working with a friend to start a business, and the people who are investing in their business don't really trust Jacob. He's kind of a rake. He's known for being a very charming, like, always flirting with the ladies kind of man. And they're worried that this is going to affect the business that they want to invest in. And so he decides he's going to lie and say that he is engaged. So Camille is like, I will pretend to be your fiance if you give me these sexual favors that I have been asking for. And so begins their affair, and this book was really, really beautiful. He is so gentle and tender with her. She has a lot of anxiety around sex, and he just puts her at ease and lets her take all the time that she needs to feel comfortable in these situations. And he's just, oh my God, I love this man. So Yeah, this is a really, really beautiful one. Jacob is the illegitimate son of an earl, so he's technically a bastard. And back then, if you were illegitimate in any way, shape, or form, you were looked down on by all of society, not just highborn society, but like everybody would look down on you. Yeah, this one is interesting. I really, really, really love this one, and I ended up giving it 5 stars when I read it. These two are just so sweet together, so sweet together. The next book I have is by Lisa Kleypas, and you've probably heard of it. This is Marrying Winterbourne. In this book, we have Helen Ravenel and Rhys Winterbourne. Rhys is the son of a Welsh grocer, and he has made something of himself. He now owns the only mall, I guess, the first and only mall in all of London. He has really made something of himself. He is a very rich man. Helen, however, is she is the daughter of an earl, so she is a lady. And when Rhys gets into a train accident, he is recuperating at the Ravenels' country home in the first book. So not in this book, but in the first book, he is recuperating in their country home where he meets Helen, and she basically helps care for him while he's recuperating. And he falls for her, and once he starts to get better, he asks her to marry him. And then one day he goes in to kiss her, and it goes a little bit sideways. And other people get involved, and all this stuff goes down, and eventually he's told that she no longer wants to marry him. So when this book opens, he's pretty upset. He thinks that she no longer wants to marry him. And so when she shows up in his office to tell him that she does still want to marry him, he at first is like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure I trust this. Like, are you sure about what you're saying? And she's like, yes, I'm 100% sure about this. Like, I still want to marry you. And so he's like, okay, then give me your virginity. Give me your virginity and I will marry you. So it is their romance from that point forward. Even though he is a very rich and powerful man, he is not of the nobility, and people do look down on him because of it. And they do talk behind his back, and people kind of question like why Helen would marry him. Rhys is a wonderful, wonderful man. I love this man so much. If you don't like Rhys Winterbourne, there is something wrong with you. There, I have said it. We love Rhys Winterbourne around these parts, but this is a really, really good one. I love this book so much. The last book I have here is another Lisa Kleypas. This is, again, The Magic. In this book, we have John McKenna, or McKenna as he goes by, and Aline. And McKenna and Aline grew up together. Aline is the daughter of an earl, so she is a lady. And she grew up with McKenna, who is a stable boy, I believe, or a servant. And she and McKenna, as they grew older into teenage years, they fall in love with one another. And then her father finds out, and because McKenna is obviously a servant, she's not supposed to be with him. Her father threatens McKenna's like livelihood and his life, essentially. And so Aline basically tells him that she never loved him as a way to get him to leave. 12 years go by and McKenna returns to her family estate, and he has been in America. He has become a businessman. He is very rich. He's got a lot going for him now. And he basically decides that he is going to get revenge on her for her having basically ripped his heart apart. He doesn't do a very good job at it, to be honest. He's piss poor at getting revenge. This is a very, very sweet romance. This is one of my favorite romances of all time, and there's a reason people love this book. Like, this has become a classic at this point, and it's for good reason. What was that? What was that? You smell good. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you are enjoying my trope recommendations videos. I'm trying to put more of these out for you guys, so I do hope you're enjoying them. Please go ahead and leave me a raindrop emoji. It is about to rain outside, so go ahead and leave me a raindrop emoji, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.